In what is turning out to be one of the weirdest Oscar seasons we've had in quite a while, we still do not have a front runner, but we did get the BAFTA award nominations today, and that's what I wanted to talk about today on today's video is react to the BAFTAs. And I do want to say I don't think there is a direct correlation. However, I do think it is again this idea of momentum and being in the spotlight. So much of campaigning, so much of just making sure you are in Oscar conversation is being in the conversation. And I think that's what BAFTA is important for. I think that's what the Golden Globes are important for. For to lesser degrees, I think that's what the critic bodies are important for. So without further ado, let's jump into some of these nominations. I'm not going to do all of them, but I will certainly do a handful of them for some of the bigger categories. And I do want to just say there is some weird stuff going on. There's some shortlisting. There's films that aren't eligible for some categories. I don't fully understand myself what goes on with it, but let's look at adapted screenplay. We have 5 nominees. We have A Complete Unknown, we have Conclave, we have Emilia Pérez, we have Nickel Boys, and we have Sing Sing. The one that I noticed, the 2 that I actually noticed right away, that are not in conversation, that did not make this short list, is we are looking at a list that does not have Wicked, and we are looking at a list that does not have what is the other film that it is missing? Oh, Dune Part 2. It is missing both the blockbusters. And you know what? It does seem that Wicked wasn't as strong with the BAFTAs. Now, certainly this film actually did do well in some categories, but this film didn't have an overrunning support. So it doesn't shock me with Wicked. Dune Part 2, it doesn't also necessarily shock me. I do still believe that I don't think there's a world where Nickel Boys and Sing Sing get in, but I could be wrong. And I just want to say, if you're liking this video, you've been watching some of my discussions on Oscars, please subscribe for more. It really does help me out. Animated film. This is a bizarre category. Flow, Inside Out 2, The Wild Robot, and Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. This one is weird because obviously, I don't know if this is always a thing with the BAFTAs, but they didn't nominate a 5th film. The one that's left out is, it would be Memoir of a Snail. So most people are thinking this. This does just kind of confirm what I've already been thinking with this category. Not much to take away from it. They already, oh, I guess they do it in alphabetical order. So I want to skip that right now. Let's jump to casting. Let's just, and this is a category that doesn't exist for the Oscars, but let's see where they liked. A Complete Unknown makes sense. This got the SAG acting ensemble. Anora, which makes sense. Conclave, which makes sense. Kneecap, which is a film that is now starting to make me believe that it could be the 5th slot for the international feature. I don't remember if I had it as my 5th slot. I don't think I did. And then The Apprentice, which The Apprentice did quite well today. We'll get back to that. Children and family film is a category that I guess they are now really distinguishing, which I actually think is cool to some degree, where they are saying, hey, there's an animation and there is children's and family film, because those 2 ideas are not mutually exclusive. Makes it a little weird that Memoir of a Snail missed out, because that is definitely not a children and families film, but it very much is an animated film. But Flow, Konsuki's Kingdom, The Wild Robot, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Let's jump over to, I'm actually really curious to see what cinematography went here. Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Pérez, Nosferatu, and The Brutalist. All right, let's talk about Nosferatu for a second, because I know some people were speculating this could sneak into the Oscars race in cinematography. And I made the cases. I just didn't think Nosferatu was going to get any. I think the genre of it was too much. I don't think there was enough support and love for it. The other 4 I felt fairly comfortable saying would probably get the nomination. And I think I probably put Wicked in that 5th slot, if I recall. Again, I don't have my list in front of me, so I don't remember. This is a question of how much do you believe in Nosferatu? And it played really well at BAFTA, and we'll see it in a few other categories. I don't know. I'm still hesitant to go out and say that Nosferatu is all of a sudden turning it around because it got a BAFTA nomination, but it is notable, and you'll notice it in a few other categories. Costume design, A Complete Unknown, Blitz, Conclave, Nosferatu, Wicked. This is a weird list to me because instantly I see a film like Conclave that doesn't get in. Or, oh, okay, no, I'm wrong. Conclave does get in. So what's missing here? Dune Part 2 is a film that I certainly thought could get a nomination in costume design. So that's one that I noticed instantly. And again, I just want to say I didn't do as much prep for this one. I really want to just give you guys my reactions. These are my first time seeing these reactions. So Dune Part 2 is the film that kind of stands out to me as the snub looking at these categories. I'm trying to think if there's another film in here that really doesn't. I'm not surprised The Complete Unknown made it into this category. I think the recreation of a time period was going to do well. I remember, I think in my predictions for Oscars, I have Gladiator 2 making it into costume design. So we'll see if that happens. Documentary, I'm also very curious to see what they get. Before opening it, I'm just going to predict they snubbed a few American specific ones. Like, for instance, I don't know if we're going to see Sugarcane on this list. We have Black Box Diaries, we have Daughters, we have No Other Land, we have Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, and we have Will and Harper. Those last two are really cool because we never see these types of documentaries make it into the Oscars. They never go for the vanity projects from celebrities. So to see a movie about Christopher Reeve get in here and to see Will and Harper get in, I am crossing my fingers, hoping Will and Harper breaks into the documentary race. Like I said, Sugarcane will probably be here come the Oscars. Everything else I felt very unsure. I also predicted No Other Land. So this to me is very much similar to what I have. I just know I didn't have the films about celebrities in them. So I don't have Superman and I don't have Will and Harper. I know for a fact one of those is replaced by Sugarcane, and I'm blanking on what the other one is replaced by. Editing, I'm also curious to see it. Anora, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Pérez, Kneecap. I'm pretty sure I have The Brutalist on my short list of getting the nomination, so I'm kind of surprised to not see it here. The Brutalist being quite literally a feat of achievement. I'm also pretty sure that I had Wicked in this category. I always tend to think of musicals getting a lot of below the lines nominations. That's how it's typically been in the past. So apologies. Those are the ones that stand out to me. Rising Star Awards. I know some people have advocated that the Academy Awards should do a Rising Star Awards. I've always been against it. The reason I have been against it is just simply I don't think there's any quantitative way to really define what a rising star is in a way that will ever be accurate and that won't annoy people. And by that, I just mean Mikey Madison has been working before, and obviously this was her big breakthrough performance with Anora. But it's just like what defines a breakthrough, and I think that there's no real easy way to put it into terms. So that's where I see a term like rising star, and I'm just like, I don't know how we would quantify that in the Oscars, or it's like the breakthrough. I think is it SAG that does a breakthrough award? I don't remember which one it is. Maybe it's Critics' Choice, and it's just like, hey, this actor's been working for a few years. Like we've known them. Some of us have known about these actors for a while. Like that's where I get a little concerned about it. So that's my thoughts on that. Film not in an English language. This one's also fascinating because we know for a fact All We Imagine Is Light was not eligible for this Oscar. So it can get BAFTA, but won't get this. Again, I've kind of suggested that Kneecap. I could very well see it being my 5. Everything else pretty straightforward. I'm still here. Emilia Pérez, Seat of the Sacred Fig. I'm seeing a bunch of the actors that I don't really want to get to just yet. So let's start from the bottom. Oh, okay. Let's do supporting actress. They had 6. I don't understand why some categories have 4, some have 5, some have 6. That's also another reason where I'm just like, I don't know how indicative these are of the Oscars, just because like this one has 6. Like we have a lot more names to go through. Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, Selena Gomez for Emilia Pérez, Zoe Saldaña for Emilia Pérez, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, Jamie Lee Curtis for The Last Showgirl, Ariana Grande for Wicked. Now, let's just state this real quick. The BAFTAs have had an interesting relationship with African American performers, and obviously there was people of color in this category. And then in another category, I know because it got spoiled for me, I know for a fact Denzel Washington is not in it. And if I'm correct, he's never been nominated for a BAFTA. So there is this complicated narrative around it. I'm not really interested in getting into that today. And to be honest, I don't follow the BAFTAs as much as I follow the Oscars, so I don't really feel qualified to speak on it. Of these, what makes sense to me? I think very well the five could be in here for the Oscars. Isabella Rossellini, Selena Gomez, Zoe Saldana, Ariana Grande. Like, I know for a fact those four made my list, and I'm trying to remember if my fifth was just Felicity Jones. No, my fifth, I think my fifth may have been Daniel Deadweiler. I don't remember positively on what that is. All I know is there's two names that I think are certainly in question, and that's Jamie Lee Curtis. I know some people are now thinking that post her getting SAG and post her getting BAFTA, that the Last Showgirl and Jamie Lee Curtis's performance could get in. If Jamie Lee Curtis gets in over Margaret Qualley, I'm actually going to go feral. I would be quite literally, I'd be like, what's the point of this stuff? Like, and I know it's all campaigns, I know it's all silly, but like, honestly, I do not understand the urge to give it to Jamie Lee Curtis. What a performance like Margaret Qualley exists. What a performance like even a film that I wasn't as positive in. I like The Last Showgirl, but like even a performance like Danielle Deadweiler, who I wasn't like crazy for in that movie, I like that's a better performance than what Jamie Lee Curtis is doing. Like the final 10 minutes of that Daniel Deadweiler performance in the piano lesson is better than anything Jamie Lee Curtis presents. I think it's just stupendous what they're doing with the Jamie Lee Curtis. I really hope a spot isn't wasted on here. I've also made the case that I don't really understand what Isabella Rossellini is doing in these categories, but alas, enough people seem to be in support of her. I've been calling the Selena Gomez one for a while now, and I'm not backing down on it. So I still feel good about that prediction. Supporting actor, I know for a fact it has some stuff I like in it. Edward Norton, a complete unknown. Kieran Culkin, a real pain. Yuri Borisov for Anora. Clarence Maclin for Sing Sing. Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice, which is one of my favorite noms. And then Guy Pearce for The Brutalist. Most of these people made my list. Edward Norton's on mine. Kieran Culkin's on mine. Yuri Borisov's on mine. And then I have Guy Pearce on mine. And I was really trying to advocate for the case that Jeremy Strong would make it into my five. I'm still hesitant to say that about The Apprentice. So I have Denzel, and Denzel, as I already outlined, has a complicated relationship with the BAFTAs for some reason. I don't know if there's any historical context for that, besides the obvious historical context. But I mean, here's the thing. I would love to see Jeremy Strong in this list, and it's just a question of if he gets in, who gets bumped out, because Edward Norton's got in the Golden Globe nomination. He's got in the, I'm pretty sure he got Critics' Choice nomination. He got Screen Actors Guild. He got BAFTA. Like, he feels pretty locked in. Kieran Culkin's obviously locked in. Yuri Borisov is continuing to show up in every category. So, and Guy Pearce is showing up too. So that's four. So if you're making the case that Denzel drops out in favor of Jeremy Strong, like, I really like Denzel and I wish he would get into this one. Personally, Norton's kind of the odd man out for me in this category, where I think he's good in A Complete Unknown. I think he's really good in that movie, but I don't necessarily need to see him get a nomination for this, where Jeremy Strong and Denzel, I think, are both deserving of it. It'd be cool. I mean, ultimately, if Jeremy Strong got in at the expense of Denzel, I can accept that pretty happily, because I really want Jeremy Strong to be in this competition. Special visual effects: Better Man, Dune Part 2, Gladiator 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Wicked. I should note that I did ignore Better Man for my visual effects Oscar predictions. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. I don't necessarily feel that wrong on that one, but we'll see on that. Let me know if you guys think I'm wrong on that. Sound, Blitz, Dune Part 2, Gladiator 2, The Substance, Wicked. Like, I know for a fact I dropped out Blitz. The Substance is a really interesting call here. That does have, like, now that I think about it, like, there is a lot of really disgusting sound in that movie. Like, it's a very visceral sounding movie. I believe if they were both eligible, which I believe they were, I had Emilia Pérez and Wicked here. I may have actually had A Complete Unknown here as well. I'm trying to remember. Oh, no. So Wicked's on here already. So I think I had A Complete Unknown and Emilia Pérez. So I think my five, if I'm correct, was Wicked, Gladiator 2, Dune Part 2, Emilia Pérez, and a complete unknown. If I remember my list correctly, and when I actually, react to the Oscar predictions live, I'll have my list in front of me so I can better reference it on real time. Production design: Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, The Brutalist, Wicked. I think this is really similar to what a lot of us have had. I think the only thing I did was I think I have Nosferatu and Gladiator 2 switched. And my logic was, again, last time being that Gladiator 2 is a Ridley Scott film, and in a more competitive year, Napoleon got 3 nominations, one of them being production. So this is the case where you could make the argument of could Nosferatu get in here? I'm just still not sure on it. Outstanding British film. Let's just check this out real quick. Bird, Blitz, Enclave, Gladiator 2, Hard Truths. Why is this not scrolling? There it is. Kneecap, Lee, Love Lies Bleeding, The Outrun, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance, Most Foul. I've seen most of these films, and I'll comment on some of these down the line, assuming that they're in the Oscars conversation. Otherwise, you can check out my reviews on Letterboxd. Original screenplay: Real Pain, Anora, Kneecap, The Brutalist, The Substance. 4 out of the 5 are on here. Kneecap was not on mine. I have The Seed of a Sacred Fig, which maybe this could imply that my theory is correct, that 5th slot is going to go to an original screenplay. I know some people are predicting All We Imagine Is Life. I'm predicting Seed of the Sacred Fig. Maybe something like Kneecap could get it. Original score: Conclave, Emilia Pérez, Nosferatu, The Brutalist, The Wild Robot. I'm now like a little worried that did I snub The Wild Robot for my original score? I'll have to double check that before. I might end up, since the Oscars got delayed again to the Wildfire, or I should say that the nominations, I'd have to do some revisionist history on my final predictions. So maybe it will be my final predictions now. I know for a fact I have Wicked in here. I do remember that very specifically. I think, and I definitely had challengers on that list as well. And I had The Brutalist, and I had Conclave, and I probably had Emilia Pérez. I don't really have any complaints about this one. I'm trying to remember if I had Nosferatu making mine. I don't think I did. I don't remember Nosferatu getting a scene. Actually, Nosferatu may have gotten the makeup and hair for me, just because of the design of Count Orlok. So, but again, let's Sofía Gascón, Emilia Pérez, Marianne Jean-Baptiste, Archers, Saoirse, Demi Moore, The Substance, and Cynthia Erivo, Wicked. So, a lot to take away. Angelina Jolie, nowhere to be found. I really do think her chances of getting an Oscar nomination are fading with missing out for SAG. That does seem to be a truth of the matter. That does mean, though, Mikey Madison, Karla Sofía Gascón, Cynthia Erivo, Demi Moore, those with a 5th slot coming in. Seeing I'm still here. This is not me just stringing you along. I still have not gotten access to see this movie, and it was supposed to release in theaters in America starting on the 17th of January. Doesn't seem to be playing anywhere near where I live, so still trying to figure out that for you guys. But a review is coming on that, but I know. Hey, apologies. My video cut out when I was sharing my screen. I didn't notice it until the editing, which meant I lost a huge chunk of my Best Actress discussion, so I just wanted to briefly go over it right here. I was talking about Fernanda Torres as my last point before the video cut out, and I just want to say that I think she is in a good position to win. Obviously, her not getting in at BAFTA, while surprising, isn't necessarily the most shocking for the British American Film Institution, whatever it's called, but I wasn't necessarily surprised to see her miss out. I still think she has a good chance to get in for the Oscars itself. I think it is just going to come down to the popularity of and I think this is all going to just come down to the popularity of Pamela Anderson. Is this real? And I think a lot of us are asking that question. Is this Pamela Anderson surge that we're seeing real? And the Jamie Lee Curtis BAFTA nomination, along with the SAG nomination for both, could suggest that. Marianne Jean-Baptiste is still in there. Some of this is probably a bit repetitive, but I did just want to say that. So let's now jump. You'll miss the transition, but it is now to Best Actor. If I disappeared, I do deeply apologize for that. Slash, if there's any weird editing right there, just know that's the reason why. I'm going to go over that category again, just in case I screwed up there. Leading actor, Timothée Chalamet, A Complete Unknown, Ray Fiennes for Conclave, Hugh Grant, Heretic, Colman Domingo, Sing Sing, Sebastian Stan, The Apprentice, Adrien Brody, The Brutalist. This is basically what everyone is predicting, except for the fact that Daniel Craig didn't get into BAFTA. I'm curious to see if he does get into the Oscars. I think at this point it feels safe to say that he's going to get it. Again, I don't think BAFTA is a 1-to-1, and Hugh Grant is not competitive in this category, in my opinion, at all. And he's very well built for a awards bodies like BAFTA. So it really is the question of Sebastian Stan. And I've said it, I understand why some people are saying a different man. I think if he's getting in, it's because he's getting in for The Apprentice. So we'll see. I really don't know. I am, the more Trump sues people, the less likely I think he is to get in. So that's my opinion on it. That's where I'm like, I don't know if Stan is going to get in because I don't know if they want to deal with that headache right now. 6 for director, we have Anora, we have Conclave, we have Dune Part 2, we have Emilia Pérez, we have The Brutalist, we have The Substance. So those names, Sean Baker for Anora, Edward Berger for Conclave, Denis Villeneuve picking up a very critical one that he is not getting the nomination for in a lot of awards bodies. Emilia Perez from Audiart, The Brutalist, Brady Corbet, and then The Substance, Coralie Farge. Exciting list. I like all these. I'm glad to see something like Steve McQueen's Blitz doesn't just like make it in here just because it's Steve McQueen making a movie about London. Ultimately, I've said it, Sean Baker, Edward Berger, Audiard, Corbet, and Coralie Farge are mine, and I think Denis Villeneuve gets snubbed. And then costume design we already talked about. I think that is just leaving one key category. A Complete Unknown for Best Film. A Complete Unknown, Anora, Conclave, Emilia Pérez, The Brutalist. Wicked does not make this top 5, which I think a lot of people are thinking that one is one of the higher contenders. Allowed a film like A Complete Unknown to really continue to gain momentum. A Complete Unknown certainly has the love. It has the love of its actors, which I think that film could very well get 3, even though Barbera didn't make this list. Oh, I have Barbera on my Best Supporting Actress list. Does that mean I also excluded Jamie, or does that mean I also excluded Isabella Rossellini? I'll have to double check my list on that now. A Complete Unknown, Anora, Conclave, Emilia Pérez, The Brutalist. Complete Unknown is gaining the momentum it needs, and Emilia Pérez is definitely not dead. And we'll see how this all goes and how this all plays out. But let's jump back to me. That's my reaction to BAFTA. I hope you guys like this. Like I said, this was kind of just an instant reaction. Wanting to talk about it, wanting to jump on and dissect it with you guys. So do me a favor. Let me know what you guys thought about the BAFTAs in my comments below, and tell me where you agree, tell me where you disagree, tell me which films you think might be in trouble, and tell me which films you think have really gained momentum for the Oscar nomination. Again, thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more.